and then I'm going to spotlight myself and start talking at y'all. Really just to try and like give our audience some kind of heads up. I know it says it's streaming now. Mine is still like giving me the loading page. So now I will go ahead. Woo, 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 woo! Hello, everybody. Make some noise.
Woo!
Yeah. Welcome to Too Funny Feedback. I'm really excited for tonight's episode. My name's Tom. Co-hosting the show with me, as always, is Lisa, although I'm not always here now. But yeah, I'm really excited tonight. Each of our comedians are going to be performing a 5-minute set. I'm going to also turn into a clock during your set that will have a 5-minute countdown. So if you need to see how much time you have left, feel free to just switch to gallery view or just glance over at my square for a second and it will tell you how much time you have left. Then after your set, Lisa and I will be giving about 5 minutes of feedback before moving on to the next comedian. We invite discussion. We haven't been having any issues with time, but if for any reason we don't address something that you wanted us to address during your allotted time, just send us a message afterwards or like an email. You're supposed to get a follow-up survey after these events, but I'm not sure if it's been working. But just in case, you know, all that link and stuff is in the bio for the episode description if you want to reach out. Yeah. To our audience, keep in mind as we get started that our intention is to help facilitate the growth of these comics, which come to us with various levels of experience. So keep that in mind. We're also learning how to give good feedback, and comedy is subjective, yada, yada, yada. Additionally, if you enjoy the show and want to support the stream, please consider making a donation of any size at districtcomedy.io. Again, that's districtcomedy.io. So definitely check it out. And like follow our platforms and stuff, subscribe to the channels. It really does help a lot. Honestly, my biggest dream is like if the YouTube channel ever got to 100 subscribers. That's all I want, because that's when you get the custom like URL instead of like the random series of like numbers and letters that they give you. Anyway, that's not your problem though. We just appreciate you viewing, and if you want to subscribe, do so. But we're going to get this party started now with our first comedian. I'll put the set list into the room again, just for those entering so that they know where they are on the sign up. It's Lisa, I'll let you do that if you can copy and paste it just from the chat. But we're going to get started with our first comedian. She's been here a couple times and we love her every time. Give it up for the hilarious, the fantastic Carmia. Woo, 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 woo!
Hi, everybody. So I'm a mom, and I need mom friends. Wouldn't you know it? There's an app for that. It's like Mom Tinder without the steaminess. So the app is named Peanut, but you can only be on it if your kids don't have allergies. It's poorly designed because you can't filter for stuff. Like, I prefer moms without bad breath and whose spouses aren't jerks and who don't feed their kids edibles.
Oh my God.
Brattiness does not qualify for medical marijuana, Diane. I prefer to meet moms who feed their infants like I do. And if you're unfamiliar, I'll tell you. Most parents use formula and everyone else loves their baby. So since I couldn't filter with the app, I had to join specialized meetup groups, like a group for moms of big families or moms with resentment. It turned out that wasn't a meetup group. It was just a maternity ward. I was kicked out of the group for moms who meditate. They said I wasn't doing it right. I've peacefully released them and they can stick it. I did find a group for moms without jerk husbands, but there were only 3 of us and 2 of them were lesbians. Mom Tinder worked for them. This is a new one. The other day I was driving on a highway near Baltimore, Maryland. That's near where I live. Woo. And it's the beginning of Interstate 70. I saw a sign with the names of other cities and how far away they are. You see these like on road trips, right? Columbus, 420 miles. St. Louis, 845. Denver, 1,700. Cove Fort, 2,200 what? Cove Fort? Should I have heard of that? Has anyone here heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, neither have I. It's in Utah.
Ha!
You know who knows it's in Utah? The 460 people who live there. How did Cove Fort land a spot on that sign? Did someone get lost there? Maybe a Cove Fort native works in the Baltimore Highway Department. I want my boss to know how far my daily commute is. Maybe they've got some like high people up in the tourism industry and paid good money to get on that sign. Cove Fort represent. Maybe their mayor is listening to The Voice. If you put it on a sign, they will come. It turns out there's a legit reason though. Cove Fort is the last town on I-70. That's all the qualification that it needed to be on the sign. They should have just put road ends. Like imagine you're on a car trip. Mama, how much longer are we going to be on the highway? Only 2,200 miles, sweetie. Now go to sleep. If you make it all the way there, like all you can do is take a U-turn. You already went too far. The last decent restaurant was 500 miles back in Denver. I don't know why anyone is driving 2,200 miles to Cove Fort. They have 7 airports nearby. 7. If you put it on a sign, they will fly. If you go, you're going to be happily greeted by those 460 people, the Cove Fortians, the Cove Fortans, the Cove Mormons. So, in 1867, Brigham Young, who's the founder of Mormonism, told a man named Ira Hinckley to start the place. I think the instructions were, Ira, start a cove. Wait, no, a fort. A fort, sir? Do you mean a port? No, Ira, there's no water in Utah. Sorry, sir. Just thirsty because faucets haven't been invented. So I'm going to build a cove and a fort. No, a cove fort. Okay, where, sir? Just go down that way, and when you run out of road, there. If you look up Cove Fort on Google, there's a pretty great review, 5 stars. Tremendous place, it said. Yeah. The sign, not the city. The sign got 5 stars. The town only got 4.8. No Olive Garden. Thank you so much.
All
That's
right.
Woo! Give me 1 second to not be a clock anymore. And here we go. Oh my God. Thank you for being here this week. I really enjoyed your set. I really enjoyed specifically the stuff that you said was new material. But kind of trying to start from the top, I really liked the idea of filters. I thought that like if you wanted to go a little bit more into like maybe an analogy in like more ways, because the filters like stands out to me as like a dating app, you know? So maybe like more ways that it's like a dating app. But like I thought that the filter like section that you had was really clever, especially the, you know, moms with resentment, just a maternity ward. That was one of my favorites. But I also felt like this was a nice set. It like had an interesting tone where it also felt educational at some moments, at least like when you like went a little bit into the history of like the founders of Mormonism and like the reason why Fort Cove was on the sign, even though nobody's heard of it. So that was just like something interesting and like an interesting tone. But one area I thought you used the phrase in your set went too far, I think, for like when you're talking about the road and stuff. I thought that might be a good opportunity if you want to like insert like a cute little thing about like, you know, the road like went too far, like my edgy ass comedy or like something, just like a little bit of a moment, just because it is a phrase that means two things, and like I as an audience member eat that shit up. I also appreciated the use of callback for the first part of the phrase. If you put it on a sign, ... they will come or they will fly. And I think that it's important to note that like callback versus the rule of threes is one of those situations where it's like better left at 2, which you did, but I want to point out for people and their comedy things in case it's helpful. And then I thought the like 5-star review for the sign was a fun misdirect, and then following it up with the 4.8 for having no Olive Garden, very fun. That joke is great as it is. If you want to build on it, I think that there's room, just like with any writing genre, where I feel like the way that people give reviews on Yelp is very specific and almost a writing genre in and of itself. So if you wanted to have like maybe a rule of threes with like 3 different reviews that Fort Cove got, that could be fun. And then maybe even keep the misdirect and it turns out all 3 reviews were also referring to the sign. But either way, just my tidbits, take them or leave them. Again, I really enjoyed the set overall. And now, I don't know why I put it on Spotlight for myself. I think I was nervous about the clock, but normally this is a gallery view, just as a heads up to all you, if you're looking at the stream later and all that stuff. Either way, Lisa, take it away.
I really enjoyed this set, and you could tell that I'm a mom from how hard I laughed at Moms with Resentment. It's just maternity word. I was like, that is brilliant. So I really just thought it was great how you went right into it. Sort of this whole set was like a mom thing, but you really got in the beginning, and then driving, and you still referenced, like, I always felt like you brought us in a way that you don't have to be a mom to actually appreciate it, and the way you made all those different like comparisons and things was wonderful. I love the peanut allergy thing because that's the thing everyone has. So these are little things performance wise, because Tom was really focusing on the writing, is that I noticed that you were doing looking up during your list of things in the beginning, like, and moms at this and this, and it was, I think, because your moves are usually very conscious, like, and very like, they don't feel staged, but I know that they're very thought out and executed really well. I feel like maybe the list would be better because you do a lot of other referencing and moving your head so well that maybe just thinking the list and just not having to look up for it. It just sort of thinking of the list or using your hands to something like that, just to break that up. But I thought it was really good. And then you had your glasses on. I know they became distracting and you removed them. So that was good. But like, or you could use the list. Like there's a part of me that felt like when you were talking about Diane, that you could be like, if you have the phone there, like, even if you don't, being like, yeah, Diane, like you're sending that to her right then and there. You know what I mean? Like, or using the glasses that you can make it more present. Like, oh, the app. Yeah. Like, there you go, Diane, or even having the glasses be pulled down or having them or something like that. It's a simple move. You're really amazing at executing very simple sort of blocking, I feel like you use essentially, but it's very, would say it's very pointed and good. It's executed, it's like edited very well, just like your jokes are. So I love that. So these are just a little bit of variance you can use if you want. I guess I wrote down Moms with Resentment. I love that maternity ward. So the whole thing, I love the Cole Ford. I thought it was fun. It's funny because the stuff that you said, this is new. It had a different, it's not that was bad. It was great. It was just a different tone. Like your other stuff, you have a very amazing like delivery and rhythm. Whereas this had a little bit, it was like, we saw you laugh a bit more, like sort of like, because it was new to you, obviously, and you're doing it. And I liked that. I'm not saying don't, what you were doing wasn't amazing before, but it felt different. And maybe it's because I've also seen your sets before, because you have such, like I said, well edited and executed sets that it was refreshing to me because I'm familiar to see you sort of like the energy change just a little bit, if that makes sense. And I feel like that was fun to see. And I don't know if you necessarily use that in other places in your set, but I feel like it is a really interesting thing to know, if that makes sense. All right. Cole Fort. So this whole thing, you do this great thing. I know you used to with your kids, that up and down. This is something you could execute well with the founder, Brigham Young. You can even do, just something simple because you're really good at that. I think that's where you can execute that sort of blocking really well for that joke. And it'll just give it a little bit more distinction of what voice you're using.
Yep.
And having fun, you can even, the leader can have a little bit of a deeper voice, or another one can be like a little, like you could just I feel like you just need small tweaks and that will even nail it even more. But I really enjoyed that. And it was funny, you talked about how far the road was, just 2,200 miles more, go to sleep. You laughed a little bit because I think it is funny, but you can be like, go to like, and then you can do that wonderful like turn of like that mom, you know what I mean? That mom like, yeah, go to sleep. All right, like, go back and forth. So that sort of juxtaposition would be really funny, and way to just change up the energy. And we all know that mom thing. We're like, no, do that now.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. I loved the Field of Dreams reference. If you build it, they will come. I mean, and I know not everyone, it's funny, even if people haven't seen the movie, they tend to know that reference. I don't feel like that's a reference that is super, there's some people that just don't get references if you use a specific, athlete from a certain time or stuff like that's not like that. That's one of those movie things. It's like Back to the Future. Where we're going, we don't need roads, which also made me think of if you wanted to refer to another movie, the whole end of the road thing, where we going, we don't need roads. Just Mormons. So, but things like that. So you can play with that. But I really just thought it was really great. Nice Mormons and just how you drop those things. Yeah, overall, really wonderful. Thank you so much.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Give it up one more time for Camilla, everybody. We're going to move on to our next comedian, but I do just want to point out real quickly, we're going more viral than we have ever got on this show before. We were briefly at 6, now at 5 viewers, everybody. Woo. I know, we're famous. I'm gonna find out later. It's like us watching the stream ourselves as we perform. But no, if you are watching, feel free to use the chat if you want to show some love to the comedians as they perform. But yeah, moving on to our next guest of the evening. She's been on the show before and we love her just as much as the first day. I don't know, probably more. I feel like your comedy gets better every time. I really enjoy it. Give it up for Amira Abu Assad.
Thank you. I'm not gonna say how is everyone because you guys already know what I'm gonna do. But all right. So I've gone through a breakup and I've been reading a lot of those like inspirational quotes. I feel like they're really helpful. I believe in them a lot. Like one of them is waiting is a sign of true love and patience. Anyone can say I love you, but not everyone can wait and prove it's true. Yeah, but why won't Jack call me back? I was watching Handy Manny with my nephew and I realized that Handy Manny is the most unprofessional coworker ever. He calls all his coworkers tools. All right. So I realized that Instagram and dating is a lot alike because you just follow people and hope that they follow you back. All right. So I got sick of doing dishes, so I got some disposable pots and pans. Really, they're not disposable, but I mean, anything that you throw away is disposable, right? So I've tried everything to find a man. I tried posting a picture of me skinny, posting a picture of like me jet skiing, me like with food that I've cooked. Photoshop is really great. I've tried everything but go to the mosque where all the Muslim men are. So I've decided I'm just gonna trick a guy into becoming Muslim. So we have to pray 5 times a day. So I'm just gonna tell him, hey, there's a new type of yoga. So like we're doing downward dog and chair pose, but it's not prayer. We're reading like instead of reading chapters from the Quran, it's mantras. We're facing towards Mecca, but we're not secretly becoming Muslim. There was this guy, Muslim guy I was talking to, but he said he drank, which is against our religion. And I was like, well, if you know any single Muslims that aren't a disappointment to their parents, that would be great. He was like really admiring me because I'm like a strict Muslim. I'm not even dating. And I'm like, yeah, that's not on purpose. No one wants to date me. I mean, it's really hard to believe because I'm a 10, right?
Woo!
Cool. There was this guy that like messaged me to like, well, he was asking me out like 20 minutes from now. And I was like, what, you just expect me to drop my knitting needles and my Tropicana? Like, I'm busy. So I noticed that my playlists on Spotify are just all sad songs, like all 71 playlists. Even my workout songs, just upbeat sad songs. Like, hard times, gonna make you wonder why you even tried. Like, I'm just going home. Why am I at the gym? And then my sister was like, no, there's one song that's not sad. And I'm like, no, that's the McDonald's commercial. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, we're sad. I heard you're supposed to put yourself out there if you want to find someone, but I'm scared to leave the house. So I just expect the same results, like keeping myself in there. If we can have like speed dating on my couch, that would be great. There was this guy, he actually, I canceled the date and he's like, oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't think we work out. I just wanted fun. And then I was like, you want fun? Why don't you go to Fun Times? Like, you know, like Chuck E. Cheese. Okay. All right. So me and this guy broke up and he's like, oh, we're cool. I'm like, yeah, we're so cool. We're frozen. We're like Wendy's meat isn't even frozen. It's always fresh. I wish my friendship with him was like Wendy's meat. But not their chili, because that's gross. Okay, so what should I? So like I'm really hairy because I'm an Arab, so I do this version of he loves me not, but with my eyebrows. I keep going until I get the answer that I want. But no one loves you when you have no eyebrows unless you're Whoopi Goldberg. Thank you, guys.
Give it up for Amira, everybody. Woo, 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 woo. Okay, here we go. Gallery view. I will no longer be a clock. And there we go. Awesome, awesome set. I feel like so many good stuff, a lot of it new. Let's start with why won't Jack call me back? I thought that was really fun. That's what I was forgetting, unspotlight you. But yeah, I thought that like your set this week was full of a lot of like really fun puns. Like you're not a dad, but there was some like dad joke ones in there. And
is that bad? Like, should I take them out?
No. And if it's okay with Lisa, I have one note about them that goes into performance territory, but I think that and we've talked about you being like really strong before and like being able to like come back when something doesn't land just by like your general charisma and your atmosphere. And I think that that is something that like is the only reason why I am like more receptive to these more like punny and like dad joke type things. It's like the moments when you're telling them and you break because you are aware of how cheesy they are. That is what makes them work. So that was it. I'm sorry, Lisa. She's probably gonna say that too.
All notes.
What's that? All good?
All notes. I give all the
notes. But yeah, so like handyman and coworkers was one of those, with them being tools or whatever. I think that Instagram dating actually has a lot of room if you want to go into the other ways that it's like dating. If you want to expand on that, I think that especially if you want to like get into the nitty gritty of like metrics and social media accounts, because I feel like there's an analysis tool somewhere on the back end of most dating apps that similarly, like, if you had access, would tell you what your success rate is with guys, which is scary and disconcerting. But one that I thought was just a good joke, there were many, but one of them that really caught me was just like, anything you throw away is disposable, you know, like that is true. And I'm thinking of all the pots and pans that have gone to waste, and also the really fun, I think it was a rule of threes misdirect with the Photoshop. I thought that was fun and really caught me by surprise. And you have also gotten a really good tone established, and this sounds like a performance thing, but I think it's actually a writing thing, because it is like establishing, it's almost setting up the audience for a typical joke structure in the way that you say it. Like that one was like a rule of threes, and then you have another one towards the end of your set, which is like my men. It sounds like a and you're probably familiar, but just in case the people watching aren't, like, there's a typical joke structure that's the like, I like my men like I like my blank, and then you like have how they're related, and it's like a double entendre and really fun. And like, you kind of set me up like you were going to do that one with the Wendy's joke, and then it totally wasn't. Like, I think it was just something along the lines of, I like my men like Wendy's meat. And it's like, it's gross. It's like, it was enough of a difference in that the normal pacing of how that joke goes that like, I thought it was funny. Unless I misquoted the joke, which in that case, I apologize.
Should I change it? I think I did say, like, I want my friendship with him to be like Wendy's meat.
Right, yeah. And like, I think that the way that you were saying it though was close enough to the pacing of the like, I like my men jokes in a good way, where it's like, it was setting me up for like one kind of joke, and then I got another, which made it that much more of a surprise and like subverted my expectations that much more. And to second one of our viewers commenting, yeah, it made it really fresh. But one thing I could hope more for is more of the upbeat sad songs, because you sang the first one and I was like, oh my god, there's probably a lot, and I just like, I need to keep not listening to the lyrics or else I will get depressed. But also the McDonald's sad jingle I just thought was real fun. So that was it from me. I know I went like a little out of order, but great job. Take it away, Lisa.
Yes, good set. I enjoyed it. I like the whole, like, the inspirational quote thing, though. I know you're like, I'm not going to start it this way. I always think you can still, because it's something we've talked with other comedians about, because it's someone we usually see, Desiree too, you know, they usually have that same, she's like that Canada humble brag thing. I think you have a really good way of keeping that intro fresh, and you can always make it like, how are you? And like, still this time, like, you're not going to do it and then be like, joking, still all about me, like, or something. You can, I feel like, don't, and this is something you don't need to throw it away. If you're not going to do it, don't do it. But like, you can go write it, or just keep playing with it, because that's the brilliance of you know, you guys as stand-ups. You guys have these great jokes that you have to keep just like the relationship fresh, to keep them fresh, and just figuring out different ways to come at it all the different time so it stays fresh for you. So that's something, and I know that's a different thing you didn't do it. I know you were talking about, but I wanted to say, like, keep trying it, and maybe something new will come out of it. Maybe you'll figure out different ways, because also whatever group you're you know, you're in front of, whatever audience, you may find a different way to deliver that same joke in many ways. So but I really liked the inspirational quote. I would love you to have like those inspirational quote voices, you know, when you're reading one of those like Hallmark cards, you know, that you see, or like, be the change in the world, like, you know, like everyone thinks so, like, you can take. So that's an opportunity for you to change your volume or change your rhythm, and being like, I am reading an inspirational quote. Let's have fun now. Something like that, you know, so that you can really make that distinguish, that when you do break out of it, like, why won't Jack call me kind of thing. Like, it's a really like deep thought, you know, and so it sort of gives that juxtaposition again. So I would, that just have an inspirational quote voice, and like practice it and make it smooth and kind of like, and then, you know, you can go right into it.
Just ask, is that quote better than the quote I did last week? Because you guys said it had to kind of sound more like, why won't he call me back? Like more related to it.
I wasn't here last week. Tom, do you have any feedback on that one?
What would you say? I was responding to a private message.
So I was saying, is this quote better than the last quote of last week? Because you guys said it should, well, not Lisa, but you should.
Becca, yeah, we can call her out.
You guys said that it should be more related to like him not calling me, because this one says something about love and waiting. So I think it's more related, right? You can't remember the one I said last week, I think.
No, I can't. But it didn't stand out to me as like bad this week. I think that what Lisa's saying as far as like the tone with the inspirational quote is probably like a flavor you can add to it, no matter what the quote is.
Yeah, and it will make it smoother, because I did find the quote, just because you was reading it, sometimes the thought harder to follow through. So like having that, I'm going to tell you an inspirational quote will help with that too, so that we're able to follow along, and that the connection between the thing that you say afterwards hopefully will work as well as you want it to. What was it? I would say that the Instagram, there's a lot of fun points. I would say like, because I feel like this one was a lot of fun, new material, stuff I hadn't heard yet. And I think there was a way maybe to, and this is a writing thing a little bit, maybe organizing it, just making, because all this great stuff about like dating and stuff like that, and keeping that together more. There was a couple of jokes in the beginning that were a little bit more just like, they didn't have their own segue. They were sort of standalone, which they're great. But if you want to put those up to the front and then move into the love stuff, just having a sequence of event that we're following you with that story and what you're going through, that I think that would be awesome. But they still oh, somebody's done. All right. And I loved my favorite. I mean, there were some really fun jokes. The photoshopping thing was great, because it did caught us off guard. And I love that what you wrote, like I put a picture of me skinny. That was just really funny, because like we all know it's like you want to put your skinniest picture up, right? And then the jet skiing, which I thought was really fun, because you're like, oh yes, I'm having fun. I'm so adventurous. And then food, and I loved food I've cooked, because that is very different. And I was like, yes, food I've cooked. And you kind of put it like you gave it space, which was great. And then photoshopping is really great. Like you took us, because you did the rule of 3 and then you broke it, like you misdirected through the rule of 3. It was awesome. And I love the examples used. And that was probably, I thought that was a really well constructed, fun joke, because we were like within the joke, your list, there were punch lines, but like, oh, we all know what you're doing. And then to say it that way. So I think that's awesome. And let me try. The whole thing with, I've sort of decided to trick men. You did it with a trick, I think always that word trick, and how you hit it. So I've decided to, and like it's like sort of like a punchline, trick them, right? It's the way you say that. So you can sort of think of it not in the same way as like that inspirational quote, but like you're saying a nice thing, and then you're like, I'm going to trick them. So use that word and those consonants. And then I loved how the whole yoga, like it's a new yoga, but you can be keeping like, I'm tricking you. Like, you could have that whole inside joke about the tricks. I will do this. Or something. You can play with that whole concept of how you're tricking him, maybe a little, because I think they're all great, but having just a little connect the dots of like taking him through, and yes, and reading the mantras, it's like the whole time we're watching you trick him. There's something there about that. I don't, in the performance of it too. And I enjoyed that. Nice. I love the Tropicana, the whole nice knitting needles. I loved, and Tropicana, and we all lost it at Tropicana, because that's a great example of it being so specific and hysterical, because we all pictured it. I personally think is what it was like, knitting needles, and you're like an orange, like, but it's like, oh yes, you're a golden girl. This is fantastic.
That was another one that got a shout out from the chat too.
Oh, good. Yes. So I loved that. I thought that was, and those are the ones tonight that really stood out for me, because of the specificity and the delivery in them, and that they created such a great image in our brain, if that makes sense. The workout songs, I totally think, and I love that you got into them like dun dun dun, and that you really commit, and that, so like when you're singing that uplifting, upbeat, sad workout song, sing it. Maybe you'll be like, yeah, imagine you're working out. You're like, and you're like, if you're moving your arms, you do something minimal. You don't have to like start really working out. That would be distracting. But just some minimal movement of like if you were on the elliptical machine, you're like, yeah, like something.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
And,
Yeah.
you know, like something like that to just break up that moment would be fun. You're like, yeah, I'm working out. And then, no, this is sad. And I love the idea of speed dating on my couch for some reason. That was really, I feel like there's an opportunity for that. Like, how does that happen? Maybe.
My dad's
Also,
an actor.
it sounds really sexy, but it is actually just really convenient.
Maybe you like tried it with your pets first. You're like, they seem to enjoy it. I don't know. Like, there was just something, there was an idea there that I really enjoyed, and maybe a moment and jokes within that, and playing with like, I, did speed dating on my couch and this is how it went. But, and that whole Chuck E. Cheese thing, fun times. So if something doesn't go over, and this is what we talked about, because you're really good, you're really good at being like, oh, something funny like that. You have a lot of catch-all phrases of like, when something doesn't land, maybe the way that in that moment that you expected it to. Well, none of us necessarily responded to fun times. You can be like, well, obviously I'm in the right group. They're not fun. None of you know fun times. So you can turn that on us or something like that. Not that that's what you have to do, not to make your audience angry at you, but you can always take that moment of not landing. I thought that because you're so good at that skill of in that moment of maybe being like, oh, fun times. None of you have them either. Okay, cool. Like, or something, you can take that moment if it doesn't land and sort of have a fun twist with that.
But if I said he just wanted to play, and then I'd be like, oh, why don't you go to Dave and Buster's? Because I think that's more like familiar with
They
people.
might know that could Chuck E. Cheese. It's funny. I know it because I have a daughter, but it's very specific, and it's also very. I think it's very country, like location specific, also, and it unfortunately, it's dying out. I guess in some respects. Also, COVID probably didn't help him. So Chuck E. Cheese.
Okay, Chuck E. Cheese has been dying out since I was a kid, though.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I think the Dave and Buster's thing would work too. He Loves Me Not was great. Always enjoyed that one. And I love Except If You're Whoopi Goldberg. You almost undercut it, but I think you can land with that. Like, punch it out. Like, except if you're Whoopi Goldberg. Like, that's a fact. So that was really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Give it up for
Woo-hoo.
Amira.
Yeah, give it up for Amira. Woo, 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 woo. Next up, we have a lovely comedian. Give it up for the fabulous Jessica Hudson. Woo, 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 woo.
Thank you guys. So I'm going to start out with just a little bit of material that it's for a roast. So his name is Brooks. I met Brooks on Zoom Comedy. It turns out, though, I digged into his past, and he had a political career as an alderman. He was an alderman of Annapolis. I had to fucking Google it. I didn't even know what the hell his duties were. But I guess, he was a city council member. He was legislating, but I guess he failed at legislating ordinances and being a comedian. Yeah. He's now host of a virtual comedy show, and he's still bombing. Instead of deciding where city lights should be installed, the only light he's giving is a flashlight from his iPhone to comics on Zoom. I heard Brooks was on an improv troupe. I didn't even know those existed. He was on it for 8 years. So yeah, improv, that's erratic, no direction kind of behavior, and you're on the road. That sounds like it was fun. If you're a failed politician with no direction. Yeah, or purpose in life, basically. Yeah, it turns out he was better at being spontaneous and inadequate. He's actually from Newry, Maine. I didn't know where that was either. I had to Google it. Turns out it was a population of just 329 just a decade ago. I just find it hard to believe you would have any privacy. How the hell did you sleep around in that town? Turns out that town was big on their ski resort on Sundays. So I guess that was the main event. What else did you do Monday through Saturday, Brooks? Yeah, I don't know. Brooks is also a Pisces. They can't make a decision to save their life. Their symbol is the two fish going the opposite direction. He decided he's going to get married and take a plunge. I guess he did decide on that. I really know what his wife's sign is because she decided to marry such a loser. I hate being so mean. That's all I have so far for the roast. I guess we'll just do some very new stuff that I've been working on. You know what, you guys? I fucking hate the term YOLO. You only live once. It's just an excuse for reckless behavior. I mean, come on. People go, I'm going to eat a dozen donuts. You only live once.
Yeah.
My favorite one is from my best friend. She's going to stalk her ex and hide in the bushes. She only lives once. I'm going to tell my boss to fuck off because you only live once. That doesn't work when you actually end up actually fucking your boss, though. So basically, YOLO is very relevant for atheists because they truly believe you only live once. I think it's pretty close-minded. If you believe in reincarnation, you better think twice because you come back in this life. Like me, for instance, I don't think we only live once. I feel like I had a past life, that feeling deja vu where you feel like you've been somewhere. Anytime I go to a ritzy swanky place, I'm like, I've been here before. I have really expensive taste. My name is also Jessica, which means wealth. So that's another indication in a past life I was probably royalty of some sort. Also because I'm a snobby bitch. But you know what? Reincarnation really got me good because my name does mean wealth, but I just filed bankruptcy. Yeah. So they weren't going to let me come back in this life and be rich again. Come on. I must have done something really fucked up in the past. Anyway, I'm going to give the 22 seconds back to the room. 21, 20.
Give it up for Jessica, everybody. Hell fucking yeah. That was fantastic. And I'm going to spend longer on the roast material because I have higher stakes in that. But yeah, Brooks, I'm assuming you're skipping around this video. Just don't watch it. But yeah, no, I'm so excited. I'm sure he's not watching it. But there was so many things I loved about it. Thank you so much for putting the effort into that roast. Just like, I love the choice that, like, without even like bringing attention to it necessarily, just the fact that you refer like the entire like first section of the roast to like Brooks in the past tense, even though he's like still involved with politics and stuff. Just like that was a fire choice for me. That was chef's kiss. Like, thank you. All the references to like the virtual comedy and like the still bombing and like the whole like twist on like giving comedians the light, I thought also worked really well. And like you had a couple good moments too, where like by themselves were just cutting statements. Like, and I think that for roasts specifically, that is actually a fun pacing tool that you can use. If you ever feel like, you need to like break up your rhythm of like less joke after joke after joke, having intermittently just statements like you're a disappointment, like, is a fun way to break that up. And yeah, something that's only appropriate in the context of a roast. I also understand your struggle. Brooks is a very nice guy, so it's hard to think of things to roast him with. I understand your plight. But I think that there might be room for some more jabs at him with the whole premise of how, and it's a real question too, like, how do you sleep around in a small town? One tag worth considering for that might be, how do you sleep around in a small town and, you know, you only have a family reunion once a year? Like maybe something along those lines. And also, I think that like if you wanted to, yeah, and then our commenter wanted us to also mention that he didn't have to travel for improv. It was all in the same town, so even less exposure. So that may be fun too. And then going on to like the more traditional set, although your first joke in the traditional set about YOLO, I think you could like do like as a transition maybe into your more normal material, but like for it still being a jab, you could even be like, YOLO, you only live once, which clearly Brooks has never heard of because he's still making all of these horrible choices. Like, I don't know, there might be a way to fit it in there somewhere. I'm also not the best at being mean, but I'm trying. And then like the only suggestion I had for another one of your jokes was more of a tag, but like for the whole like you only live once and like religion, and you talk about reincarnation at one point, just because I read the study recently and it's really disheartening. Maybe even something like, you know, the planet's dying, so we're all out of here by 2040 anyway. So it doesn't matter what we're being reincarnated as because we're all gonna burn. Just like, you know, a second to make everybody like maybe chuckle, but mostly feel some existential dread, which may be a little bit too my brand, but if it fits with you, like go for it. And that's my last note. So Lisa, take it away.
Oh, thank you so much, Jessica. This was a treat. As we know, as Tom and I, it's funny, we were in the improv troupe with Brooks, not the non-traveling improv troupe.
We didn't have to admit that on the live stream.
It's fine. It's a dark secret. No. So he's just so tall, damn it. He kept finding us. But basically, I know I really enjoyed it. You know what? I was looking and Tom was giving me his notes. Your roast like energy and demeanor was really funny. It's funny because at the end when you're like, I hate being so mean, I was like, oh my God, you're so, not that it was like, oh, you're so good at it, like you did such a great job of it that when you broke, I was so, kind of surprised because you were just so good. It made me think of, if you've ever watched those roasts on Comedy Central, Nikki Glacier, you know how she's a blonde and she's kind of like, you had that same energy and like you let things, and I love that you let things land. Like we may or may not all know Brooks, but like you knew that like the harsh, like you were doing really smart, fun things, and they weren't in a way that was like nasty, mean at all. We all knew it. It was all within the good fun of a roast, which I think is the best stuff in a roast. Because there's some people who just get up there and they decimate and they're kind of just awful. You didn't do that at all. You took. I love that you went and like researched and found out things about them, and you really just had fun with them, and the way that you delivered it, it was very just like, here you go, and this and that, and then letting it just simmer for a second and letting it land, and there will be chuckles and things. It was really wonderful. I feel like you really nailed the timing of it and having fun with it. And I really, really, really enjoyed it. Also, because I also know Brooks really well, and that made me really laugh. So, and I had a really hard time of actually making fun of him because he's a lovely man, though he's very tall. That I will always keep. I always find that offensive. So no, but I really enjoyed that. I loved talking about the virtual comedy and just the whole politician, like the failing as a politician. It was fantastic. That was a really smart joke, and the whole how do you sleep around. I do think there's a lot of and maybe you're asking, how do you sleep around that town? And maybe you were even asking for yourself, like, if I visit, how do you do that? Or I don't know, like something like,
oh, that's funny.
I want to know. So
in case I ever go there, how do I?
How do I? Watch out for the bears. That's all I'm going to say. That's how I slept with bears. Bears are, but you just had a really nice demeanor. So when you did break, and then you went into your second set, thought was fun. And I did love the YOLO jokes. Very, very fun. I love the stalker stuff. I like that it doesn't work if you fuck your boss, actually. Like things like that, like taking the turns with it, like when YOLO does work and it doesn't, and using it as an excuse to do literally anything. I thought you did a really good job of when you were like, think you were talking about like you had been in your former life and you're like, I've been here before, deja vu. It was a very small, like just angle, but it actually let me took it in like, do you remember when, and I liked that a lot. It was a small thing and looking up, and I felt like it kept you very present in the moment in the joke. And I appreciated that. It's a small thing, but like I was saying to Carmia and everything is that every little thing you do in this little box can be very significant and assist your delivery or your moment and make it keeping it us with you. So I thought you did a really good job with that. And what was it? I saw royalty. What was this? I can't read my own writing. That's fantastic. It means, well, you said it's royalty and then something bitchy. That's what I wrote, which makes no sense probably. But
That was at the point that I started to like lose gas. Your notes started getting like running out like with my jokes.
yeah. But no, you can only not read your own writing once, right? YOLO. No. But no, I just thought it was a really good a good just set. It was a lot of fun. I thought you did a really quick transition and going to your own stuff and having fun with it. And I just really like your delivery and just keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, you guys.
To say about Brooks. Yeah.
Give it up for Jessica Hudson, everybody. Woo, 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 woo.
Thank you.
Also, I almost said something I regretted. I was almost going to be like, you know what? Anybody watching this, feel free to roast Brooks too. No, don't do that. This is a specific context that is not appropriate. Although I guess like I don't have control. Like anybody could at any time insult Brooks or any of us, but nonetheless, I'm just going to stop talking. I'm digging a hole for myself. Give it up for our last comedian of the evening. It is her first time on the show. Really excited to have her. Give it up for Ami Om. Woo, 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 woo.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me today. I feel very warm. It's like 90 degrees, and the welcome was very nice too. I am biracial, I am bisexual, and I go to therapy bi-weekly. None of those are choices. They all just kind of run in the family. I am Indian. People know that I'm Indian. The hairdresser usually knows. You know, she sees my hair. She's like, oh, you must be Indian. The waxing lady. Oh, you must be Indian. I'll show you the hair. And so now I don't get waxed. I'm nice and hairy. I don't have room for that kind of negativity in my life. There's a lot of people who have eggs in the audience, and I am down with that. I love ladies in the audience. I just had all these eggs lying around, and I didn't want to waste them. I hate waste. I hate plastic waste. I hate food waste. I hate cinched waste. So I wanted to, you put them to good use, reduce, reuse, recycle, right? And so I called an egg donating company, I filled out a form. I was like, $5,000 for one egg. That's 60 grand in a year. I've never made that much. I was so excited. And they rejected me. They're like, we don't want your eggs either. So I threw them back in the fridge. And now I just take them scrambled. My brother and his wife, they had a baby a few years ago. So I'm an auntie. Yes, it's super exciting. But, I'm still pretty mellow about it because I have, I've already had a nephew. It's not that big of a deal. And don't worry, I had nothing to do with my brother and his wife's conception. I grew up in the kind of incestuous relationship with my brother, very uncomfortable, very awkward. And so as you can imagine, we've spent years in therapy, just trying to work through it. And we fixed it up. We're getting married next month, and you're all invited wherever you are in the world. Whew, uncomfortable, but you guys watch Game of Thrones, right? Isn't that like incest heaven? You like it. As long as it's 1,000 miles away from you. Oh my goodness. So I do work with children. I don't do the set in front of them. I don't really want kids. I just don't want to take work home with me. You know, way too much. And where am I going with this? All right, so talk about my parents. I really love talking about mental health. My parents had things in common, very important. You know, you got to get past just having the sex. I think that's good. I think. And they, so the thing they had in common is mental illness. Yes. I think it's important we talk about mental illness instead of just waiting 30 years and figuring it out down the line. Appreciate that. My father had schizophrenia with paranoia. So that means that sometimes he was really giddy and silly, and sometimes he thought people were out to get him. And my mother, with her manic depressive bipolar, half of the time, she kind of was out to get him. It was a match made in a mental institution. Childhood, right? Oh my goodness. I have a friend who texts me. She said, "Oh, Ummi, she's so excited. She's like, I got a jackrabbit." I was like, "Oh my goodness, your son must be so excited." She's not talking to me anymore. I guess it's like a sex toy. I will not babysit, but I definitely will bunny sit. And one time when I bunny sat, I don't know if you, this is too long. I don't know why I try to end with this. I'm going to end it there. I'm going to end a little early. Thank you.
Woo, 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 woo.
Right.
Give it up for Omi, everybody. 1 second. Don't have to be a clock anymore. All right. Awesome. That was really fun. Let me switch to gallery view real quick. But first of all, thanks for being on the show. Woo! First time. Yeah, you killed it. There were so many things about this set that I enjoyed. You start off real strong, you know, classic rule of threes and a misdirect with biracial, bisexual, biweekly, and then you had a nice button on the end of it too with the you know, they all run in the family. I thought that was very clever, very good. I liked, and it was more just from a general tone perspective. So maybe Lisa will have a suggestion for either what it was that sold me on it, or maybe how we can go even further with it. But like you know, no room for that kind of negativity in my life. I think when you're referring to like the waxing, so that was nice. I also thought it was great. I think you know, anytime you can take a second to acknowledge the room in the audience, especially in such a clever way like you did with like a lot of eggs in the audience tonight, like it's good for two reasons, because it's clever, but also because you're taking a moment to be like present and acknowledge, you know, something that is going to be unique for this set that you're doing for this room on this night, kind of. I mean, have it in your back pocket anytime you're in like a mostly female room, but like at least it felt that way. I felt like I was getting a special treat. I like that I liked it as a joke, but I also, I guess, just generally like that you had nothing to do with the conception between your brother and his wife. That's always good. And then like I liked incestuous. The way I notated this joke was incestuous solution equals marriage. And more so like for the follow-up with Game of Thrones that it had. And if you want, as a possible tag, maybe a line such as, you know, we're getting married. And like Game of Thrones, this will probably also have a horrible season finale or series finale. Spoilers to anybody who hasn't finished Game of Thrones, but it was notorious for having a horrible ending. Either way, moving on. I liked Don't Want to Take Work Home From Me. I think that you probably want to like maybe dedicate more of your set to like the topic of like your profession. I feel like that's always a rich area, and I'd love to hear more about your work. And I'm really glad that you don't tell this specific set to them. It's also probably good. I thought that you have, and you're already doing a lot of good stuff with the topic that like you, like your mom and your dad both have like mental health issues. And I think that's also like a fun way you can spin it. Again, another possible tag, like being, it's important to have, hobbies in common with your spouse, like therapy, like just another way to throw it in there. And I thought just like sometimes mom was actually out to get him, like that joke is just like, I wouldn't have you touch that. I think that's just perfect the way it is. And then I think, I forget exactly how you phrased it, but maybe just to like emphasize the joke I think you're going for more, I think you said something like childhood, am I right? I think maybe like a way to make the premise of that joke more clear would be either give it more attention or phrase it in a way that's like, was that not your childhood? Like, I think that's like the thing is that like, and I feel like we all relate to that too in one way or another, maybe like not that specifically, but like, that moment when like you think you're just talking about your life and like you see other people's reaction, you're like, oh, maybe that's trauma. I am actually supposed to be unpacking. Anyway, that's it from me. Take it away, Lisa.
I really, really enjoyed this. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love the rule of three right at this top with the buy weekly. And I love that none of those were a choice. They all run in the family. I really thought that was strong and I enjoyed this. I thought this whole set was pretty strong and I liked the progression, especially because you say, I see eggs in the audience, and then you talk about eggs and like what your eggs and things. I thought that was, and I liked how you identified that. The waxing, this is a fun opportunity because I saw you like the waxing and as an Italian woman that's Scottish, I feel your pain a little bit. And I felt the pain from the waxing literally for most of my life. So, I knew what you were doing with like the showing the hair on the strip that's waxed, sort of like that reference. I feel like there's a very specific move with that. It was very smooth, but if you do and you're like, if you're being actually waxed as they do it, because I've had someone do that to me, or like literally, and this is more about me than you, like I had someone who was like doing my eyebrows for the first time and she's like, oh, I'd hate to wax your bikini line. I was like, oh my God. I was like 19 and it was like, so I understood the negativity. I was like, holy, so yeah, that whole, that waxing, and you can have like either it be changing a tone or the way the volume, or just, I don't like necessarily give them an accent or something, but something that just shows like a different tone of voice or different person. And I thought like that whole very physical, like is when you wax and there's a, as it happens, and the ripping, you can like showing, I think there's a way you can just tighten it and make it a little bit more specific that will assist in that and the telling of that joke, which is, I think, funny. I didn't need that negativity in my life. And that's very true. I like that. I think you do a really good job of rule of threes throughout your whole set. Cinch waist, like I love that. And you do it fast, so we have to catch it, but then we catch up with you. And I love that. I think you have a really good delivery of those rule of threes. Was to say, throw them back in the fridge, and I liked that whole the end where you sort of throw them back in the fridge. I prefer my egg scrambled, like kind of thing. I thought that was really funny. I liked your enthusiasm. You're standing the whole set, aren't you? Are you standing? And it shows like there's the different energy, and I like that. I think it really works for your set, and it gives you room when you use your arms or things like that. There's just like with and this is a thing that's come out through Zoom. Stand-ups are usually standing up. You don't have them sitting down. Zoom has been a different world where there's a lot more sitting down, and it can assist you if it works for your set. That's fantastic. We've seen a lot of comedians, but it's funny because I don't see as many people standing, and I feel like it really does make a difference, and it really assists for you and your energy. And I really think that's a smart choice. So I say keep going with that, and a lot of fun because I can feel your enthusiasm in your set, and a lot of that is assisted. That's why we don't give speeches sitting down sometimes. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it helps you, and I want to acknowledge that. I wrote nice enthusiasm. I said nothing to do with the conception. So I love that as you set up about the eggs and like your brother and your nephew. Like I had nothing to do with it. I love that. It's a nod back to the beginning of what you were saying, and it's funny, and then it brings you right us into your incestuous relationship, which I thought was so funny because I'm like, oh, incest, because there's that moment when you get to like subjects that are a little like where are they going with this? Like, I want to like them still, you know, like it's kind of that moment with the comedians, and you did a really good job with handling that, oh, we're getting married, like you solved it. And like, that was, especially because, and then you go into like the mental illness stuff. It was just really well constructed. And then it made us go, ha ha, laugh and relieve. Like, okay, we're not talking about awful incest. Like it's, and then you make it okay with that Game of Thrones. Like everyone likes it. Game of Thrones, it's like, got to be 1,000 miles away from you. There's like a lot of truth in that too. So that was really fun. I enjoyed that. I said, right, nice Games of Thrones things. And what was it saying? The kids, I saw you moved into the kids part, and you can make a reference back to you don't have to, but the sort of egg thing, you know, I really, you know, I have, you know, the way I get the kids in my life or whatever, you know, is I just don't want to bring my work at home. I thought that was really fun. I love that you said, I don't do the set in front of them. I thought that was great. I just thought it was really funny because we know we talk about kids and all the things you're talking about. That was just really smart. And the whole mental illness, how you set that up. I thought you explained, because that's one of the best things when, and I find that what I enjoy the most is seeing how people, when they come back and do jokes and we say, oh, that was really great. If you edit it this way, maybe we'll land a little stronger, or you can find that moment in it that you were looking for. And I feel like you did a really good job with explaining mental illness, because a lot of times we'll be like, that was really great how you have to explain a concept very quickly to people if they're not familiar. And then you make it a joke. And I thought that was really great how you did that, how you explained it and their diagnosis. And then I loved, and you're like, well, actually, my mom was actually sometimes trying out to get him. I thought that was fantastic. And then just like Tom said, like, it's a cut print, like you do that job wonderfully, that joke, and how the sort of the exposition getting ready to land it is awesome. So I thought that was edited really well. So it's funny, you got down to the rabbit thing. I really want to hear that because I had pet rabbits. Like, I'm a rabbit person. But I also knew your friend meant Jackrabbit, what she meant. So that, because I'm also single mom. So basically, the Jackrabbit thing, I think there's a way to land it. It's good, it's strong, and I knew there was another part to it. But like, if people aren't familiar, it's a thinker a little bit for some people. So I would say, you know, a jackrabbit. And I said, that must be so exciting, like for your kid, and being like, and then I realized it was like battery operated, and like, or something like that, like a reference. Was a battery operated jackrabbit. You know, like it was named Jack for a reason or something, you know, but you can make a reference to go into it so that you get it, and just be like, and she's no longer talking to me, you know, like, or a way to figure that out. And just because it's the joke is there, but you just have to be, I think that's like adding that specificity, like when Amira said Tropicana or things like that we just get it, so it can clicks in our head faster. But I look forward to hopefully hearing the rest of the rabbit stories, the rabbit jokes. But I thought that was really, really fun. So thank you.
All right. Yeah, give it up one more time for Ami everybody. Woo, 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 woo. And that being said, I'm going to take us out. Here we go. Where's Spotlight? There it is. Okay. Big thank you to my co-host Lisa, as always, to the comedians for being so open to feedback, and of course to our awesome audience. I want to give a special shout out to y'all tonight for giving me the extra specially active chat. That was so fun. Anyway, again, if you want to support the stream, you can do so at districtcomedy.io. And if you want to be on the show, you can sign up using that same link. But otherwise, thanks again for all the laughs. Have a good night. Goodbye.